All right, hey there guys, I'm back with another video here to go over the latest enhancements, the updates and upgrades to both Algo Studio Pro as well as the Auto Strategy Builder. It's really remarkable to see the pace at which this product is evolving. And that's very much tied to the feedback that we're getting from the user base on our Discord, the community, those people that are working with it, trialing it, the owners. And just our own experience working with it, it's really remarkable to see how my partner TDI Dev, or Erwin, as you may know him, is working to develop the product and incorporate all of the feedback that we're getting here. So fun for me to be a part of it here. So let's just go over it. Now the first thing here, I'm starting here on our webpage just to be sure that many in the Discord are aware of this, but for those of you that maybe watching on YouTube or maybe haven't paid a lot of attention to this, both now, Algo Studio Pro as well as the Strategy Builder are available as a lease, right? So, of course, the lifetime license here is, of course, always going to be an option. But for those of you that kind of want to ease into this without making that giant financial commitment, this is a great way to do it. And what I thought I would do in this video is, in addition to highlighting the new enhancements, is kind of go over how the two work together. There certainly the Auto Strategy Builder is the fastest way to get started. I mean, you can get something profitable pretty quickly, but there are distinct advantages to using the two together, and that's, I think, what you'll see in this video here. So I'm just gonna create an algo on the fly with you. I haven't done this in advance. That's kind of the point here, is that you can see how easily you can start with maybe a list of indicators. Maybe you're looking for something that's trend based, or reversion to the mean, or something that's more scalping or retracement based. I mean, there's so much you can do here. But let's create one on the fly, something relatively simple, and then bring it into Algo Studio Pro, and so that you can see there's a lot you can do in Algo Studio Pro that you can't do in the Strategy Builder. But this is a great place to get started. And for those of you that are new to working with algos, I will tell you here, if I'm looking at a blank chart here, it's very tempting to want to go over to the ASB because I can get something so quickly here. So let's look at that. So let me pause this here and I'll bring up a blank chart. Okay, so I've got a micro gold chart loaded up here. You may recognize here from most of the videos that I do that I prefer to work with tick charts, particularly on something like this where it's entering at the close of a bar. Now that's not the only option. You can work with a limit order here, but when you're just getting started, likely you're going to work with a close at an entry at the close of the prior bar. And because of that, I prefer to work with something where the size of the bars is somewhat controlled. It's not to the same degree that a range bar would, but the tick bar is going to be tighter, right? So that's why I tend to work with tick charts over 1 minute or a 2 minute. But again, it's a bit of personal preference here. So let's get to it. So 600 ticks. I've got, just to show you. Oh, I'm here. Hang on. Where's my? Oh, why can I know? There we go. All right, so let's get data series. She said I've got 60 days of data. Okay, right, just to be clear, so you know what I'm working with here. So I do have the initial balance on. Now, of course, this is to the gold hours here. So we're 9 to. Oh, I tend to cut this at 2:30 here. So that's the RTH session here. And you can see that looking at this. So if you first brought this up, is gold more of a reversion to the mean kind of an asset, at least currently, or is it more of a trending asset? Well, maybe we'll do a little combo of both here. Not go into it with a preconceived idea. Certainly, it's a lot of volatility in gold of late. So let's see what we can come up with here on the fly. And in the process, right, I'm kind of demonstrating the product. So here I'm coming over here now. If you own Algo Studio Pro, this is just a little tip. I mentioned this in the last video here. But if you open it, the default is going to give the high is greater than the high of the previous bar. So you're gonna get way more stripes than you want to, which can slow it down. My suggestion to you is just create a default algo that has a condition that won't create any entries. So the low is greater than the high, something that could never happen. And that way you don't have to work with the Algo Studio Pro trying to process 60 days of tick charts, of tick data. It'll just be easier to work with. Just a little tip, having worked with this for quite some time now. Okay, now so you've got your asset, you've got Algo Studio Pro, and in this case here, we're going to have both of these loaded. How do you want to start? Well, there's no doubt that the fastest place to start is go to the strategy builder. Yes, ASB and ASP. I guess we're stuck with those acronyms, but so it's easy to mix them up. Okay, but to the point. So let's just go ahead and let's just make one. So let's use an ADX since tends to be a trending asset. Let's also use an ATR, right? Some things that would help us, in a trending asset like this. Let me just make sure I've got these both highlighted. Just since we're not opposed to something that would be reversion to the mean, let's get a Bollinger here. I'll just use native Ninja stuff so that you don't feel like I'm pimping our products here. Certainly one option would be that to work with a TDU Bollinger, but let's just work with a native Ninja. Let's get an SMA in there. Let's do that, and let's get let's see, we don't need it twice. Let's get a CCI. I like the CCI because of the very strong tendency for it to be a reversion to the mean, kind of an indicator, an oscillator. We've got SMA here. Let's get these done. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What else should we put in there? It's just cruise down the list here, see if anything really sticks out here. Wait, sure, we can do a MACD. Why not? All right, so let's do a MACD here just for fun, right? Things that you'll all recognize, all native Ninja stuff. Let's go with it. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 indicators. Let's stay with the defaults here. I'm going to make one change as I always do here. Now I'm going to go to this, and just to be clear, so you see this here, I'm going to go to 9 to 230, 1430. So we've got gold RTH hours. Trading rules. This is a change I always make, right? Being sensitive to many of you trading with prop accounts. Let's keep the minimum daily loss to 500. Also here, I tend to do this here. I keep consecutive losers. I take it down to 3 to 5 at a max. We just leave the rest as default, so we're good there. Let's crank this up a little bit here. Now this will penalize an algo that has too many buy-sell. So you're long and then 5 sell signals fire. It's going to penalize that. So we're trying to reduce the number of times that you see that. So taking it to the mid, I think the default is the light at 3. But let's take it to the mid, see how that plays. Let's run this up here. Anything else? So this is always a good one, right? So many of you may have seen this, but you have all of these choices in terms of how you want to weight it. Now we've given you a bunch of defaults to start with here. So for example, conservative low risk here, you look at the weighting here, right? And these are all customizable. You change them to your heart's content. It's not like you're prevented from changing it. Make this 20 and this 50, right? It's entirely up to you, and just save it as your own version of that. Optimized equity is always a good one to start because it's a 50-50 balance between focusing on profit and then smoothing out the equity curve. So that's a great one to start with. So let's go ahead and start there. We'll do that, and let's just double check here. We've got everything that we want. All of this is done. We're good here. Okay, so again, I have not done this in advance. I promise you that. You're gonna have to take my word for it. I have no idea what we're gonna see here. So let me go ahead and hit generate. I'll pause the video, and then I'll come back when it's done. See if there you see an example of what I mean by every bar has an entry on it. Okay, so this is going to cook for a little bit. Do not be alarmed by what you're seeing back there. That's a reflection of every bar is an entry here. What it's cooking is down here below, what you're seeing, and already we're off to a good start. So let me pause the video here, and we'll come back. And in the process of reviewing, I'll be able to demonstrate to you a couple of the new features. Okay, that finished running. It took 7 minutes to do 60 days of data of micro GC. So, I mean, I gave it 6 indicators here. We consider that to be a pretty speedy result. Okay, so now a few of the things that have been added here. First and foremost here, let's go look at these columns. Now, previously you didn't get a choice as to what you saw up there. Now we're giving you the choice to show exactly what you want or what you may not want. So for example, the Monte Carlo rating is something that I want to see, and rather than having to flip through them individually here to see it, now you can just load that up above. Same with everything here. You may not want to you may not want to see all of this. So it's entirely up to you as to what the amount of detail that you want to see, and picking what you'd prefer to see. And then once you have one that's set, then you just save it, right? And it'll show up every time. So that's a very nice new feature here. So, in the prior version, you're doing this to kind of so you can see everything. Now you may not need all of that here, but what I do really like here is that now I can see trades, I can see the commission, I can see the MC score, I can see the MC rating, Monte Carlo score, right? So you can get a number here. So you see we now have good, fair, poor, excellent, and outstanding. Well, if I see outstanding, okay, well, I'm going to pay attention. So I want to look immediately and go, okay, well, how many trades was it? Why was it outstanding? And then, of course, I'm going to look at both the maximum drawdown as well as what the profit was. So I might just kind of look through some of these here. I often will typically take max drawdown and say, okay, well, if this is, since we're focused on, again, on the assumption that so many of you are trading prop accounts here, which that is an assumption here. We don't know that. But I want to see also how it would relate to trades, right? So if I come up here, I want to go number of trades, and then right next to that, I want to see max drawdown. So if I'm looking here, I want my max drawdown. I prefer, right, if I'm looking at 60 days of data, I want my max drawdown to be above 6, 7 at the max, right? So some of these are too hot. So here's one, 149 trades. Pretty good. What's the Monte Carlo score here? Excellent. Right. So I've sort of randomly picked that one. So it's number 23 on the ranking. But as we look at the internals here of that algo, it's got some very encouraging numbers. So the Sharpe ratio, very good. Out of sample profit relative to in sample, okay, right? Maybe a little heavy on in sample. Total profit, excellent. Now there are going to be algos with a higher total profit. But this, I love the fact that I have a very low drawdown. I've got well over 100 trades. The commission is very reasonable, and I've got an excellent Monte Carlo score. The new things that is now consistent between Algo Studio Pro as well as the Auto Strategy Builder is how you view the Monte Carlos. So now this is important. Now you get more analysis of the Monte Carlo with Algo Studio Pro. You can see much more, and we will send this over to Algo Studio Pro as part and parcel of this video to show how you can take what you created it with the Auto Strategy Builder, and then how you can refine it, work on it, improve the backtest in Auto. Oh, geez, the acronyms are killing me. In Algo Studio Pro. ASB and ASP. I'm forever going to mix the two up. Okay, so we've got this here. It looks good. Like, there's no reason not to. Let me go back to the overview. Very consistent. And then the other thing you'll see here is that now all of the entry, short and long, rules are set here. The trading rules are set here. Right now, I can also see up on the category header here, I can see the number of indicators that were used. See the number of rules that are there. Stop loss, take profit, in sample, out of sample, right? So there's a lot of information here now that I can quickly look at and say, okay, is this one I want to work with here? Well, maybe I want to look at a couple of them here, so I'm going to save it. So I've saved the strategy. I could load it, if you're just working with the strategy builder, you could save it as a NinjaScript and work with the Ninja strategy and trader and strategy performance. You have all those options, right? Because we're still only talking about the Auto Strategy Builder, ASB. Okay, but with that done, now we picked one here that we like. It's got good numbers. I can see what's here. Max drawdown, very reasonable. Again, there's probably some with here 2,500. Here's one, but it's also quite good. But the drawdown is higher. That's still acceptable. You have to make a choice as to what's more important to you. I mean, there's not that much. Well, sure, that's not bad. Let's see here. I'm curious now, how many indicators did it use? This one used 6. This one used 3. Just out of curiosity here, let's go with the 6. Let's stick with that one with the lowest drawdown here. It's very good, excellent curve. Okay, so with that said, I'm just kind of demonstrating to you how you got a lot of choices here. So the faster you can scroll through them based on the criteria that's important to you, that's why we did that. So you don't have to one at a time. Okay, so with that said, let me fire this and send this over here, the one that I picked here. Let's load this into Algo Studio Pro. Okay, now I've just clicked load into ASP, and it's loaded in here. Now this is an important distinction that you need to be aware of. One of the reasons that we're able to analyze so much data in ASB 60 days of data, right? You know, if you got 1 minute bars or even 600 tick bars, all right? I mean, this is a lot of processing that it's doing. One of the reasons we're able to do that more quickly is that ASB is doing a backtest bar to bar. So it's not quite as accurate as what you're going to get from Algo Studio Pro, which is going to do it tick by tick. So you may see a discrepancy between what lands in Algo Studio Pro because immediately the backtest is going to be tick by tick, as opposed to what's in the strategy builder, which is bar by bar. It can be a substantial difference. I mean, not something that would steer you away from the algo per se, but it might be enough of a difference where you're like, whoa, that's $400 difference, right? What's the difference, right? And that's tied to the back test. So be aware of that. It's a much more accurate backtest in Algo Studio Pro than it is in ASB. But ASB is where you're going to get a quick result that might encourage you to get into ASP to continue to refine, do a little bit more backtesting. Maybe you want to add some price action. Remember, over here, I can only work with the indicators. I can't work with a retracement. I can't work with price action. I can't work with, well, I mean, there's almost nothing you can't work with when you add in formulas and all of the access parameters that are available to you in Algo Studio Pro. But I just know it, human nature, right? I mean, it's so tempting to just come to the ASB and throw some indicators and boom, I've got this great looking equity curve, right? Very tempting, but it's important that you understand how much more is available to you in ASP. And now that you're not looking at the choice between $99 a month or $1,800, right? Now you can see, whoa, the benefit here of working with the two of these is pretty substantial, and maybe that's maybe the two of them together as the lease package here. If you got two of them together, that's $198 a month. If working with these tools, you can't overcome that investment of $198, you're doing something wrong. So, that's to be proven to yourself as well, right? So, take that for what it's worth. Okay, so now that it's in, let's go over here and look at it in Algo Studio Pro. So all of the same thing here, all the rules, all of this lands in Algo Studio Pro. But now, so we don't really need, we're not concerned with the ASB anymore. So now it's looking at this going, okay, well, here's what I got. Yes, slight difference here. The net profit is slightly lower. Commission, those kind of things are all going to be the same. The max drawdown is actually higher. Well, rephrase that. Pardon me. It's lower relative to what the ASB one has. If I look back here, what we have as our max drawdown was 377. Here it's 238. Right. Again, subtle differences in the back test, but it's important that you're aware of that. Okay. So one thing that you'll note that I would encourage you to take note of, maybe it's better to say it that way. Anything we do in the ASB is always going to land as a sequence. So if you want to add on to that sequence, you're going to do it through a group. So you might go, okay, I want this to happen in this order, and I want XYZ to happen. So let's take that off. Just so you're clear on that distinction, everything coming from ASB is a sequence. Once I get over to ASP, I got lots of choices here. Right? I can group this. I can do any of these. Right, I've got all sorts of flexibility here. I can create much more sophisticated algos here, assuming you want to. I'm not saying you need to. I'm just saying you have that capability over here. So let's get rid of that. Okay, so let's get back to where we are. Now, right off the bat, these are one lot micro gold. This is, I mean, relative to the investment capital here, this is an awfully attractive return. But you might look at it and say, okay, I mean, what are you going to do with it now? Well, one of the first things you could do is you just go over to this ATM and go, okay, well, how are we looking here? Are the things that I want to tweak? Well, one of the things that I always do is I go over to the reports because I want to see how it spreads out through the course of the day. Well, here from 11 to 12, we're not doing too well in the last hour of the day. So it would be very reasonable to come to this and go, okay, well, from 11 to 12, it's not doing too well. And for the last 2 hours of the day, well, maybe we just want to take those out. Now, you look at that here. So now we're up to 2100. The drawdown is still 219. So a little bit of a bump on the upside. Perhaps that's how you would want to approach trading it. Now, see, once it's in here, now there's more things I can do with it. So I can say, well, wait a minute. What if I change this to limit orders? Is that going to make it better? Well, it's not dramatic, right? No dramatic change in the drawdown. So, okay, maybe I don't want that. Break of the previous bar, high or low. It's gone down, right? This has gone up a little bit. I can't do that in ASB. I can't do that in Strategy Builder, but I can do it here. Now at bar close, that's why I was telling you I prefer to work with something where I'm not going to have a time-based candle, right? Can be huge, right? So I don't want to enter at the close of that candle if I've got some volatility event that's going to put me long at the wrong time. So that's why that's again, it's just personal preference. There's no right answer here. It's just your personal preference and where do you see the best results. I tend to almost always work with tick charts. Again, it's just me. Here are all the order management, the rules here. You know, I guess we don't have to worry about it. Stop trading if it's over 1,000. Yeah, it's going to stop after 4 consecutive losers, right? So all the rules come over, trading hours come over, right? So now we've improved it a bit. Now I might come back to reports and I got nothing but green. Right, again, I can't do that now in ASB, but I can do it over here. Now, additionally here, I can start working with multiples. So perhaps I want to add a position to that. Well, now, you know, if I wanted to optimize, I could optimize for position 1, position 2, or the two of them together. I could also scale in. I had a question about this on YouTube here. People asking, well, can I scale in? Can I add to winners? Well, you can scale in, you know, to your heart's content here. You know, you, of course, do some back testing as to whether you want to do that. So if you're down 10 ticks, right? Do you want to add another one? Well, here, when you know ticks, well, in this case, 20 ticks in a loss or 20 ticks in a profit. Do you want to add to it? Well, look what just happened. Now, look what just happened there when all I did was say, I want you to add one when we're 20 ticks in profit. Well, look what happened to my net P&L. But also, look at what happened to my max drawdown. Still very acceptable. I always keep an eye on biggest winner and biggest loser, right? I don't want that to be too far off, right? So that's about a 2-to-1. That's ideally, right, what you're going to look at here with a 61% win rate here. You know, that math is going to work, right? As you can see it here. But these are additional things that I can do here. If I want, I can add a third position. You know, and then I could optimize. I could come over to the optimizer and have it optimize for position 1, 2, or 3. Maybe I just want to optimize for positions 2 and 3, so runners. Maybe I just want to go for the third one, so if I'm going to get a big. Now look what just happened when I added a third. I went to 42.03. My drawdown went to 542. Let's go over to my reports. Any change here? No change here. Right, so this is just incrementally getting better here. And my point here is showing you how much more capability is in ASP. ASB, this is great for getting idea generation started. Well, it's more than that, right? I mean, it was a very tradable algo just with what you found it from ASB. But boy, now we get over here to ASP and I can start to tweak here. I haven't even started tweaking on this yet. But I'm just doing it through the ATM. Right, pretty powerful. Okay, let's see. Well, here, let's go back to singles. Oh, let's get rid of that. Here, let me get this back to all singles. Okay, I'm back to where we started, where we're just working on with single contracts. All of this unchanged, right? So the reason the number's a little higher, as you'll recall, is because I went to the reports and I killed the 2 hours that it was giving us negative results. So I got a very nice. You know, over 2 months, right? So I always try to encourage you to not look at this and go, oh, $2,000, I'm not rich yet. Well, slow down. What if you had 5 of these running across 5 different assets with 5 different algos? Because not all of them, right, are going to, you know, just because that's the back test does not necessarily mean that's going to be your forward result. It's just we've got a very good back test. So some are going to be better than others. Some are going to do better than this. But by diversifying across different assets and across with different algos, you're getting the true benefit of all of that diversification of approaches across multiple assets. It doesn't have to be multiple assets. You could do 5 different algos on gold, 5 different on the S&P. 5, why, you know, pick your asset class. I just think there's benefit to diversifying across assets in addition to the algos that you're running to get the true benefit of all that diversification, right? Just something to keep in mind, and particularly since prop accounts now are, you know, very, very real. What Apex? $30-$40 for a 50K account, something in that range. So you can to dial up more than a few, which I would encourage you to do. Now, don't just dive in, you know, into your prop account until you've let it run for a day or two, you know, minimum. Make sure everything's firing and working and you're comfortable with it all. Then turn it loose, and you know, I think you'll enjoy being not having to sit in front of the monitor for hours on every day. Okay, right, so with all of that done, now let's say we look here and we go, okay, well, it's pretty good. Now, of course, the next thing you'd want to do is just go look at the trades. When it's getting a winner, and when it's getting a loser, what does it look like? You know, am I getting runaway losers where it's just too big, too big? Well, here, I got nothing. Well, I got nothing but profit on that day. Oh, let's see if I can find a good example. I need a big loser. I don't have many here. No, well, there's one. All right, so we have buy signals here, and we got off to a good start, but then dumped here, and so you lost $53 on that. Note here the average loser is $54 here on this over 60 days, right? So these are pretty tight, Well, let's just see if we can improve it. Let's just see if we can do something here. I'll just demonstrate what I was showing you before. So I'm just going to add to this. I'm going to add, let's add a condition here. So understand what I did. I'm just creating a new group, so it's going to be this sequence and the following condition. So let's see what I can come up with here. Okay, so in the interest of keeping it simple, I've just added a little volume bump here. So what I've said to it is, in addition, we have this very nice result here that as we've been looking at. Well, now what if I wanted to add to that, see if I can improve it? And there may be, even very often, there will be times where you can't find an improvement, or you're going to have to dig on it to come up with something that's going to give you a better result than what you got from ABS. But if you didn't like the result, or you found that it was inconsistent, here's just a simple thing that you can add here in ASP. Because in ASP I have so much more that I can work with here in terms of the kind of options I have to work with here. So if I were to add another condition, for example, I mean, I've got a lot of things to work with here. I've everything from different formulas I can work with to retracement levels to any indicator here. I've got formulas here that I can work with here if I want to create some sort of Boolean logic here. That all of that's available to us. That's always been part of ASP. But I'm just kind of demonstrating to you that, yeah, ABS is a great place to get you started, but ASP is where you really refine it and can be very specific about what you're doing. So let me just get rid of that one here. So just to, again, in the interest of simplicity, I said, well, let's just see if I can improve on this. So what I added was just a simple volume bump. So current bar's volume is greater than the previous bar's volume. It can't be any simpler than that. So I added that as an and. So in addition to all of this, then I want the volume to be greater. Now, if you're in ASP, then the one thought would be to go over and optimize it, which I did. So I've already run this. And what I come up with here, I'm going to get a great looking equity curve. The drawdown here is only $115, right? So we have perhaps a more robust algo with regards to its drawdown, but we've got a lower total here on net profit. Does that necessarily mean you immediately gravitate to the other one? Not necessarily, right? I mean, if we look here at this equity curve, it could be that you want to come in here and now you want to say, well, now I want to bump it up to 2 contracts. Well, now, okay, now I'm getting closer to that previous algo's result, which was at about $2,000. I'm still okay. You know, I like to keep those above 500 on the drawdown. That's an option. The other choice here is I could add a runner or 2. Or 3, or start scaling in. And the thing that's amazing about Algo Studio Pro is that I get immediate results. I don't have to wonder, well, is that better or worse? I get immediate results. Then I may want to flush this out and see, well, if I include now the full day, am I getting a better result? Now, what do I look like here if I've added in? Remember, I took out those parts of the day where if I looked at the result here, it was unprofitable from 11 to 12, and then in the afternoon. Well, here, okay, I've got something to work with here. Of course, I'm looking over here at the Monte Carlo ratings here, which are all very good. We're outstanding. And looking at the equity curve, you can see it's quite good. But it may be that you just come back to this and go, well, you know, based on what I'm working with, I can't find a result that I like more than what I started with. Let's get rid of that. Where I had that 2K. Now I've tweaked this enough here, so it's because I've rerun the optimizer here. I did the same one on there, but it's just in adding that additional condition. Now we're starting to tweak it. So what I would do at this point, if I didn't want to pursue some sort of price action or factoring in a fair value gap, or something that would your perception would be I can improve this, either I can improve result or reduce drawdown. Well, you've got that capability to do it. And it all started over here when we just loaded that, got a good result, sent it over to Algo Studio Pro, and then started to experiment here. And that experimentation is I mean, you kind of have to be drawn to that, right? I mean, it's a bit of a treasure hunt. Can I find something that's better? Can I tweak this? What about that? What if I took this and, I added a condition. I said, okay, I only want to go if, well, let's go to bar direction here and say, okay, only want to go if I get a hammer or a pin bar, or something. Is it better, worse? I can start playing with that. Do I want an engulfing bar? Right, so the idea being, okay, did we sweep the low and the high of the prior bar? If I do that, is it getting better or worse? Right, I can start to play with it here. Better? Well, that's not better. This is better. That's not better, right? Maybe I want to take one out and add the other one. See, it's immediate feedback. That's what I want you to focus on, not necessarily this particular algo. I mean, algos are easy to create. It's refining, getting to the one that you're comfortable trading with all the parameters here. Remember, it's a back test. Now, Algo Studio Pro is a more precise back test. Let me re-emphasize that. It's a more precise back test. But as with any algo creation here that is optimizing, the reality is that about every 2 weeks you're going to want to either create a new one, given the current market conditions, or you're going to want to re-optimize the one that you have, that if it's been giving you good results, you still want to re-optimize about every 10 trading days, just so it stays fresh. The current volatility is factored into that optimization. So that's the reason why you want to keep on top of these. You don't want to just get one that's good and say, well, I'm going to trade that for the next 3 years, right? It's a constant process of refining, retweaking. Do you want to add? Look at the results. What is it doing? Is there something particular that you might be able to look at and say, well, it continues to do this one thing here, so maybe I can create a condition here that will stop it from doing that, or will do it less often. Maybe it's a volume bump. Maybe it's a particular indicator here that starts to refine it. Maybe it's a level on the board, support or resistance, or something that you can work with here. I mean, you can be really rather creative in the kind of algo design that you come up with, and it would be very, very unlikely that anyone else on the planet would come up with the same algo. Right? So there's a lot of individuality with regards to what you end up creating, and then how you apply them, how often you re-optimize, how many you're trading across how many markets. So really individual results will vary. Okay, with all that said, I think I've covered all of the new features here. I got everything. I think I have. Okay, with that, I'm going to stop talking here. I'll get out of here and just remind you that these are all, both ASB and ASP are available for a 7-day trial. These are full working versions, so you can do that little back and forth. Most of you are going to start with the Auto Strategy Builder because it's so easy. So easy to get something that's profitable. Then review the trades, look at it, see, well, God, boy, it doesn't look like it's doing this, right? If I could reduce that thing that it does, well, now you're over in Logic or the Designer, depending on what you prefer. We can go over to the Designer and look at it here. If you drop from Logic to Designer, be sure to hit Auto Layout so you can see the full sequencing here. It becomes easier to work with. I just by habit have gotten more used to working in Logic, so I'm more comfortable over here. But my partner Erwin, he only works over here. When he's creating his algos, he likes it over here. So there's no one right way, wrong way. It's just whatever your preference is, or whatever you get used to. Okay, with that, I'm out of here. And just a reminder, links will be below. 7-day trials for both products. You may try one, then after the other, but why not try both of them together? Okay, with that, I'm out of here. I wish you good trading, and we'll catch you on the next one.